Have you ever wondered how you can unlock new opportunities and knowledge that can truly change your journey as an African immigrant? Then, you're in the right place. Welcome to the AIM Expert series, where we bring you insightful sessions, packed with practical strategies from top experts on topics that matter most to you. So, if you're looking to grow your career or understand the US system, then grab a chair and don't go anywhere. Now, let's get started on today's session.
Professions can get into the US. So I am doing today for doctors. I hope in the to do one for nurses and physical therapists. I think dentists will generally come in with doctors. They're a little different. Their career path, and the whole idea is this: if you've trained as something outside of the United States, you're a doctor, or you've established, or you are just finishing your medical training, definitely you come to the US. I don't think that a person needs to lose their career path, their chosen career path, just because they've come to the US. We've heard about the stories of when people come here, they are taxi drivers and they become taxi drivers. I've definitely come across in my time a guy who's a doctor in his country, an Ethiopian. And he came here, was driving cabs, and somehow he got stuck in driving cabs, and that was it. He was trying to. So I didn't think he should have just ended up being a cab driver. For one thing, he had experience before he came here, and he would have benefited the country and, of course, himself if he could have segued into being a doctor here in the US. And the whole thing, I think, just touches on the purpose of AIM. Maybe the people he met, the first 5 people he met when he first came to the US, just didn't know better, didn't have better advice for him. So that being the case, I decided to flip things around a little and talk about how people can practice their chosen careers in the US. People who have already trained outside the US, you come to the US, how you can continue. I'll tell you briefly again. I'll tell you about myself, just briefly. When I came to the US, I was already a lawyer with some years of experience in Nigeria. And, well, my husband, God bless him, he told me, no, you don't have to. You can be a lawyer here in the US too. Why not? So because I had good guidance, we tried at that time, it was back in the late 90s, we tried at that time to see if I could we lived in Georgia. How could I come in and be a lawyer in Georgia? Well, it turns out Georgia at the time said that for you to be a lawyer, practice law in the US, you had to have a degree from an ABA, American Bar Association accredited school. Clearly, the University of Nigeria didn't have that accreditation. I think that was just some kind of, protectionism. And I couldn't practice law here easily because we thought I could just take the bar exam. Certainly, New York State, California State in California and New York, you could take the bar exam and become a lawyer and just become a lawyer so long as you had a degree even from a common law country like Nigeria. So that was just having found I couldn't do the ABA accredited thing. I tried to do the New York, see if doing the New York bar would help me. They said no, they still needed the ABA accreditation and they didn't allow waivers. So that even if I had qualified taken the New York bar, admitted to New York bar, I could have been practicing law in New York, but I couldn't waive into Georgia. They didn't have the reciprocity then. So I ended up going back to law school in Georgia. I went to the University of Georgia 3 years. I got a JD degree, which is the same as is the very same as an LLB degree. They just call it a different name. And of course, in America, it's a graduate level course. So I did that. 3 years later, in 2000, I graduated, I took their bar exam, and now I had a law degree and a law license, and I could practice law. Fast forward to, maybe like 15, 16, 17 years later, Georgia changed up the rules. Now they will let you under certain foreign graduates. They will let you under foreign law graduates. They will let you under certain circumstances. They'll let you take the bar exam, and they will now allow waivers. Also, if you took the bar exam in New York or California, you could take just certain parts of the bar exam here in Georgia, and you can now practice law with your foreign degree. So it's changed. And if my husband hadn't had that foresight to insist on for me to go to law school, go back and read law again here in the US, I possibly might have ended up doing something else. If it had been somebody if my first 5 people had been people who didn't know, who I could have been doing something else. I could have, just do this. You really can't practice law here. Just do this. So that being the case, I guess that has given us the story for lawyers, or in brief. So let's do doctors. Being a doctor here in the US is a second degree program. That is to say, you have to have a bachelor's degree. So I've had the opportunity to advise somebody. If you're already studying medicine in, let's say, Nigeria or any other country where it's not a second degree level program, my advice would be to finish your course in Nigeria. For instance, I had a client so many years ago. I think they won the visa lottery, and they came over and they got their green cards. When they came over, I think they had good advice, because they had a daughter who was in medical school in Nigeria at the time. So what they did was the daughter came in, her green card was handed her, and she went back to Nigeria and she finished studying medicine. What she did was to get there's a particular form you fill, and you'll get some kind of status that lets you go in and out of the US without being told that you have abandoned your green card status. So she was going in and out. Every time she had a holiday, she'll come back into the US and she went back to Nigeria. She finished medical school, came back here, and she's a doctor. So and she already has a green card, so she's allowed to work. All she needed to do was to find a program where she could do the training, her residency training. Contrasting it was somebody else who won the visa lottery, medical student, came to the US, left his medical studies. He came here, he couldn't study medicine, and his dream of becoming a doctor, that was how he died. I'm still in touch with that person today, and he didn't even have the gumption to go back to college. He's doing a menial job, to some kind of job today, and there went his dream. And that thing is very hard on someone's mind when you lose your dream. So like I said, if you are a medical student already somewhere, go ahead, finish your program, and then come to the US if you want to practice medicine in the US. Now, when you come to the US to practice as a doctor, there's 2 things going on. Here in the US, you cannot, if you have just a medical degree, your MBBS, you can't, even if you've just done your internship, your house job, you can't practice medicine. You have to do a residency. Those residencies depend as from 2 years or maybe 3 years, depending on if you're doing, I think some of them up to 5 years if it's a surgical residency. And if you want to have a specialty, another 2-3 years to get that. So there's the work, that's considered work in immigration, in the eyes of immigration. It's not training. But let me back up a little. Let's say you already studied something like biochemistry or something, one of those underlying courses in Nigeria, and you came to the US. You can study medicine because you can show them an undergraduate degree in something that's science-based, looking towards the medical sciences. If you came with a biochemistry degree, you can just come in and study medicine, and life goes on. However, How you've come in matters. If you're coming in as a student, when you finish your studies in medical school, you still have to deal with residency and training, which is considered work. It's not training. It's not a student visa type. So at that point in time, you need something to allow you work legally in the US and also to practice medicine, because if you're a resident, you're a doctor. And in the US, you must have a license to practice medicine. So, but the licensing, medical licensing in the US is a state-based thing. That is to say, every state has its own. So now I think let me start from the top. Let's say and deal with the entry points, the places at the point at which somebody in their career can enter into the medical field here in the US. I just found something out, which I think is nice. Clearly, we always complain about a shortage of doctors in the US. If you're already a doctor in Nigeria, let's say you did your residency training in Nigeria, you have a specialty, or you're a physician or a surgeon, you've done that training, and you come to the US. Regarding licensure, a lot of states have started it. I've counted up to, I think, 10 states. They say, from what I found out, I'm going to tell you the states just so that people can know. Virginia is one of them. Tennessee. So it's Tennessee, Florida, Virginia, Wisconsin, Idaho, Iowa, Indiana, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Oklahoma, and I think New York too. They now have a program where you can, as a doctor, qualified, done your residency, completed medical school, done your residency, you can now come to the US and practice. You are not allowed to get a US license. See how their procedure works. You come to this one in any of these states I've listed. You will go to their medical licensing, tell them, but you have to work under a doctor for 2 years. When you've worked practiced medicine under a doctor you'll be issued a provisional license, which allows you to work under a doctor for a certain number of years. I found out it's like 2-3 years. Once you've completed the 2-3 years of work under a doctor, under the supervision of a US doctor, you can now practice medicine. You can get your full license and you are now free to practice medicine. However, remember that it's two things going on: medical licensure and immigration. And for the immigration part of it, what needs to happen is this: you need to find on what status are you coming in to work. You can come in, again, we do the distinctions between temporary work visas or a green card. If, for instance, you have the good luck to be married to a US citizen, you're fine. You'll get that'll cover your permission to work, no more filings. If, however, you're a single person and you don't have a US spouse, your employer has to petition for you. So you have to find an employer. An ideal situation, or if I can make a hypo, would be you're in Nigeria, you locate somebody here who wants a doctor who is willing to hire you. You can obtain H-1B status. Now, H-1B, it's good, although there's a cap H-1B. Unless you do it through a university or community hospital, then they can do it an H-1B that doesn't have a numerical cap. And you get your H-1B visa, so you come in, you living in the US, authorized to live and work by immigration as an H-1B visa holder, and you're working under a doctor, under the supervision of a doctor with a provisional license. 2-3 years later, you have your full license and you can continue to work with your H-1B visa if you have an employer. If you're lucky, let's say you're a Senegalese trained doctor. Senegal has an E2 visa, the treaty investor visa program with the US. Let's say the person was a Senegalese person. You have your medical school, like you've trained, residency done, Then you come to the US. You can, once you have, let's say you come in as, you can even come in as an E. You set up a medical office because it's a business. But in your medical practice, it's subservient. You're working, you have a supervising doctor so that for your licensing purposes, and your doctor supervises you. In 2 or 3 years, you now have your full license, and you have your medical practice, and you're a self-employed businessman and investor under the E2 program. You're fine. People also come to Nigeria for further medical training. So I've talked about doctors who have training, who have done medical school somewhere else and have completed their medical residency training. So the next set of people coming down the line are people who just finished medical school. You don't have a medical you don't have your residency training. You haven't done that yet. So how do you come in? Again, licensure, and you have your licensure requirements and your immigration visa status. Again, I think those licensure things, and I really can't speak that much for medical licensing, being that I'm just a lawyer and sometimes a housewife. But the best thing for your medical licensure thing is to call the state where you want to live in, call their state medical board, find out the requirements, okay? And so that you'll know for sure. The US, and also let me say this, there's the USMLE exam. That's an exam that foreign trained medical graduates have to take. I must say that you must take that exam. It's, I think, a 2 or 3 part exam. You take that exam, then practice under somebody. That is if you already have your residency. If you don't have your residency training yet, you still have to take the USMLE exam to qualify to be licensed. Find out the requirements for licensure in your state, because you have to have your licensure in order for immigration to give you a visa to come under a particular status. So you do your licensure, and then you apply for a visa. At that point, you can do a J1 visa to allow you train. So you have your USMLE plus a J1 visa. That J1 visa is for trainees. There's an association, there's a group called the ECFMG, something commissioned for foreign medical graduates. So that's a very good resource to use in terms of taking I think they are the ones who administer the USMLE, and they can talk to you a bunch about the licensure matters. But for the J visa, once you have taken care of the USMLE and you have your licensure thing done, and you're looking for a program to do your residency, you go to the ECFMG. I'm going to put their website in the chat. So it's ecfmg.org. You go there. They actually run it. They have the J1 program is a certain ways. It's administered by the U.S. Department of State, not Homeland Security and USCIS. So if you're outside the U.S., you've dealt with the ECFMG, found out about taking the MLE, the USMLE exam. The ECFMG also helps people in terms of they're authorized, they're accredited to accept people into J1 trainee programs for doctors. A lot of doctors who are here use that. The only thing is this: if you have taken the J visa, if you accept the J visa status, it is very likely, because there's a limitation to that. After you're done with your training, you must leave the US, return to your country for 2 years. It's called the foreign residence requirement. So you go back to your country for 2 years. In those 2 years, you can't apply to change status to another work status or to get a green card. until those 2 years have elapsed. You can come to the US as a tourist, but you must be outside your country for 2 years working. Ostensibly, you're using the experience you've gathered in your training, applying it to your homeland. So after the 2 years, you can come back and get a job regularly in the US. Again, it comes down to what you can acquire another immigration status to work in the US. But again, too, there's a waiver for the J1. Like everything in immigration in the US, they give you a law. There are some waivers. That waiver, you can waive that 2-year foreign resident requirement. You can raise it. You can waive it if you can show maybe you'll be persecuted if you return to your country. Maybe your spouse, a US or green card holder spouse or child of yours, will suffer exceptional hardship. Exceptional, like good hardship. If, for instance, exceptional could be if somebody has some kind of illness that they won't be able to manage properly if they return with you to your country. So you can also you can get a waiver so that you don't have to return to your country for 2 years after your J1 program. You can also ask for an IGA. If an interested government agency in the US can request for that the waiver of the 2-year return return requirement for you, that's fine. Also, if they really do that, no objection, your country doesn't object, no, that doesn't work for medical trainees. Also, there's a Conrad 30 waiver. That is where the state or community health department petitions for you, applies for the waiver for you, saying that, hey, we need this person. And it's generally in addition to that, for you to do the Conrad waiver, you have to have a contract saying that if that waiver is granted, within 90 days, you will sign a contract, start working with that community health department. You'll work for them for at least 3 years in a medically underserved area or in a hospital that treats medically underserved population. If you do that, you get a waiver of the 2-year foreign residence requirement. So I just told you about the J waiver, the J1 visa. If you're coming from outside the US to the US, or even if you can come, the J1 trainee who wants to do residency can come with their spouse and their children under the age of 21. Those will be given J2 status, and those will also they will also be given employment authorization. They'll be able to work, but their work cannot support the family. So the J1 person must keep doing his training. And the family members too, they are subject to the 2-year requirement, 2-year foreign residence requirement. If the J1 holder gets the waiver, then they are waived from having to go back out and for 2 years. So that's the J1. The ECFMG has a program for matching up people, foreign medical graduates who want to do their residency in the US and need under the J1 program. But the thing again is this: once you have that J1 visa comes to an end after your residency, after a residency program, the J1 visa terminates. Let's say you even get a waiver, or you come back 2 years later, you still need a job. You can get a job using some of the non-immigrant categories. The O visa, if you have that much experience. The H1B, especially the non-cap H1B, if you have a nonprofit or school that is willing to employ you under the H1B program. Also, if you have that much experience, they can also do an EB2 national plus a national interest waiver. Your employer also can do a labor certification for you. That'll give you a green card. Let's say you finished training, hypothetically. Let's say you came in, did your training, and you find somebody to hire you. You can get hired, let's say as an H-1B, and then that employer can also petition for a green card for that doctor. Anything is really possible. It's in these cases, because I'm talking in such general terms, what it means is if this concerns you, then your own particular method will be tailored out for you. Okay, so I've talked about the licensing and I've talked about the immigration possibilities a bit. So even if, so I don't know, maybe I should take questions now. Any questions? And then I can continue. No questions? Can you all hear me though? Please, can you enter into the chat if you can hear me, because
No,
you're
fine.
very quiet. It's very quiet.
You sound very fine from here. I can hear you okay.
Okay. So let's talk about, and let me say this to Canadians. If let's say you're a Nigerian citizen, you're born in Nigeria, you also have Canadian training, or you're a Canadian citizen, once you have your Canadian medical school training, you are able to get an unrestricted license to practice in the United States. But that's licensing. That's not immigration status. So let's say a Nigerian trains in Canada. You've trained in Canada, you have a Canadian medical degree. You don't want to practice in Canada. So you need to do your residency here in the United States. You can come in, you have the licensing, medical licensing to practice as a doctor. It's not going to be a problem for you because you have a free, unrestricted license. However, you have to deal with the immigration. So whenever medical people are doing, doctors are trying to come work in the US, remember there's the licensing issue and there's the immigration status issue. So we've talked about coming in as a well-trained doctor with experience, residency experience. We've talked about just freshly minted doctors. You just have your MBBS degree. Or we have also talked about if you're a medical student outside the US, this is what is better for you to complete your medical studies. Don't leave it and come to the US. Very same thing too if you're a law student. If you want to practice as a lawyer in Nigeria, in the US, I think it's better to finish your law training and come to the US. It would be your choice to go and get a JD. Like I said, going to law school in the US, what it afforded me is I have classmates who are Americans and I have teachers who are Americans. In Nigeria, we'll call it connections. So you will have connections. You'll be, AKA network. You have a wider, I guess, professional network. So let me again, I'm trying to look at my notes so I can see another time when another entry point for medical doctors. I think those are the entry points, medical students, or just considering being a doctor, medical students, recently graduated, residency, already graduated with residency trainings. I think those are the 4 entry points I noticed. So we've talked about licensure. Let's talk about, again, now we're going to let me go back again and talk a little bit more about the immigration status you can have. On the non-immigrant side, that is to say you just have a temporary work visa. You can have a J visa. It's a trainee visa. You need a sponsor organization. The ECFMG is good at helping you. It's an accredited sponsor organization. They will help you. Very good at that. That is to say, if you want to do a residency program, and also they will give you good advice about taking the USMLE, which is an exam you need to take, whichever way. You can also do an H-1B visa. The H-1B visa is for people who have a degree. If you have a bachelor's degree, or sometimes in certain cases, a master's degree. So you're graduating from medical school outside the US, it's most likely going to be the MBBS you have, or whatever else if you're not English speaking. So you have it. When coming to the US, you're going to need a temporary visa. You're going to hoping to do a residency. So you need that thing. You can do an H-1B if you have your licensure. Licensure is always the first thing, I think. You have your license and you do your licensing exam, and then you talk about the visa. An H-1B, a non-cap H-1B is certainly possible. If you're a doctor who has had experience, done your medical residency training, even practiced for a while, you can come in as an O visa holder. After you have your USMLE, you've identified the person you're going to work under, you can come in as an O visa, a person who has extraordinary skills. So that's on the temporary work side. And on the permanent work side, which is the green card, you can do your employer, a doctor who wants to employ you. Let's say you have a doctor's office, they want to employ you, they can sponsor you using the labor certification. And remember, the labor certification is a test of the labor market. The doctor advertises, and if there's nobody who comes in who they can hire, then the US Department of Labor certifies that there's no person available, so they are free, no US worker available, so they are free to hire you, this doctor, and you can work under them. And you can work in the US. So with once the labor certification is done, then you go to the Department of Homeland Security, where the employer files a petition for you. And if the petition work is approved, you come in, you apply for a green card if you're already in the US, or you apply for an immigrant visa if you're outside the US, and you come in, you have a green card, entitled to work, medical licensure done. A lot of the times I see people already who are here trying to find the way to stay. Are you going to do your residency, or do you just finish medical school? And I hope I've covered what they need to know. What I thought I was forgetting was the people who have gone to medical school in the Caribbean. There are certainly some people who go to medical school in the Caribbean. There are some US citizens who go to the Caribbean, or there are some non-US citizens who went from their country to the Caribbean to do medical school. I found that a lot of them had done their, what I call the theoretical part. You can choose to finish all aspects of your medical training outside the US in the Caribbean medical school, and you come into the US. It's going to be the same thing, licensure, and your immigration status. But there are some students like that from Caribbean medical schools who come to the US to do their clinical rotations, because doctors, they have the clinical rotations. You rotate through different aspects of the practice of medicine. I've found out, and having dealt with some of them, I've found out that there's no clear visa for them to use. That thing always happens under an informal arrangement. So what I've noticed is that those students coming to do their rotations just using a tourist visa, a regular B visa. And it's fraught with a lot of, the problem I see there is that it means you come in maybe 6 months, you leave, come back again another 6 months. it's not an organized, recognized, and organized thing. And people run into the risk of being told, well, why do you keep coming to the US? You can meet an immigration officer who will tell you, why do you keep coming in? Well, what are you here doing? It's start explaining to them you're doing your clinical rotations, and you could be dealing with, oh, well, you're violating status. You're going to school. You said you came to us as a tourist, but you're going to school. So for such people, it might be good to get an F visa. Just come in with an F visa and do your clinical training. But at the same time, the F visa, it may be refused. So what I'm hoping is that someday, between the schools in the Caribbean that have this arrangement with the hospitals here in the US, they can gather enough critical mass to ask for legislation that will give their students the ability to come in as trainee students, F visa, and do their clinical rotations. So I think that's what it is. I hope it's been clear, and I don't know if anybody has any more questions. And again, since everybody is here, if you don't have questions about this doctors and medicine thing and immigration thing, I'll be happy to take other questions and just give you a general answer, remember.
Good day.
Hey, good day.
I have a question. So I'm a fresh medical doctor. I finished in Nigeria.
Okay.
And I started taking the USMLE exams. So I'm trying to get in through research. So trying to see if I can work as a clinical research assistant in the US and then use that opportunity to fund the rest of my examinations that eventually March.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask how to go about that.
Okay, I hear those clinical research doctors. Yeah, nice. They're happy. They say they work 9 to 5 and they get to play for Saturdays and Sundays. So, and I hear they're happy too in terms of money. However, what will happen is this: it's going to be a straight. It's going to be a straight to do your same visa program. So you find a program. Maybe they can hire you as an H-1B. If it's a cap, if they just hire you as a regular H-1B visa holder, it's subject to the cap. But let's say your research organization, the person who is hiring you is a doctor. Let's say Emory University Teaching Hospital, for instance. You can get an you can come in as an H-1B visa holder, no cap. I mean, a cap here is as a numerical cap, because the regular H-1B is 65,000 H-1B visas every year, every financial year. So for a lot of, there's other professions, everybody is doctors, everybody who wants an H-1B goes under that 65,000. However, there is a version of H-1B that you don't need to, there's no numerical limit. So let's say your employer, depending on the nature of your employer, your future employer, if they are not, if they a research organization, maybe a teaching hospital, even the community hospitals, if they have a research arm, I think some government departments, you can get a non-cap H-1B visa, and those ones you can always apply for them. That's the sweet thing about them. You can always apply for them, and you get your H-1B. The O visa too, and I'm sure even research doctors will like it better, because maybe you have some, although you say you have, you just have your recent medical graduates, but if you had done some work in Nigeria already, you can use it and massage it a certain way and show yourself to be a person of extraordinary ability, but it's for, you're extraordinarily capable, and you can come in as an O visa holder. It's a temporary visa status, same as H-1B. So if you want to keep living in the US permanently, you have to find a way to transition into a green card. And they could even do the J1 for you too. Same, if they have to do the program. Yeah, if they have a program, you can be a J1 visa holder on the temporary side. Now, if they love you that much, or if they think you are really important, they may want to immediately do a green card for you. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Any more questions?
Excuse me, ma'am. From what the questions, I think if she doesn't want to go through the employment route, do you think education is also the best route to come in first? Then later on, she can do conversion, like maybe do a master degree.
That works too.
Mhm.
Yes, that works. So you can be doing you come in and do an MPH or whatever else. You can make a real serious pivot. And while you're doing the MPH, you are, or whatever master's degree, it gives you some time to, if you can carry that load, take your USMLE, pass it, and then also look for another, maybe a match who will file for you, an H1B, also they will file for you. And also forgot the TN visa is for Canadians and Mexicans, so that under a special treaty. So if you are trained outside I'm just trying to imagine, you might for some reason have had have a Canadian visa, it's Canadian citizenship, but let's say you were born in Canada. Your parents took you back home to Nigeria. I'll be using Nigeria too much today. So let's say Cameroon. You're born in Canada, went back to Cameroon, went to medical school there. Now you're finished. You can come into the US. You've taken your licensure exams. You can come in as a TN visa holder, a TN visa holder as a Canadian, and you get a job. And those are easier. Those are all possibilities. And for those who are established doctors, especially, you can do the licensure exam, and if you belong to, your country belongs to the has the treaty with the US, you can come and set up your medical practice because your medical practice is a business, so you set it up and you will start running it, and you can be self-employed under the temporary visa rules for the E2 visa. Any more questions?
I have a question. Sorry.
Please. Who's
This
asking though?
Yeah,
Please tell me your name.
My name is Tosin. Yeah.
Oh, Tosin, how are you?
Good. This has nothing to do with the medical or anything. It has to do with a friend of mine. He has a VAWA. He did a VAWA, and he has a 10 years permanent resident for over, let's say, I think 2 years. So we're having a discussion, and he said he's going to apply for his citizenship by next year, which is going to be like 3 years. 3 years before, towards his
Since he got his green card.
Green card, yeah. So and I think they have to wait for 5 years. So
no, it's 3 years.
Even if he's done with the lady,
yes.
3
yes,
years,
it's just a special thing that VAWA candidates, VAWA beneficiaries enjoy. Because look at it like this, the sense behind it is this: if your US citizen spouse had done what they're meant to do, and your marriage had vowed it, but they don't do it. Your US citizen spouse is meant to do a certain thing for you, but they don't do it. So the VAWA law allows you to step into your US citizen spouse's shoes and petition for yourself. Okay? So you still get a petition for yourself. If that spouse had done what they were meant to do, you would have remained married. And in 3 years, you would have got your green card. So whatever that spouse would have done for you, and whatever benefits, extra benefits like filing in 3 years, they would have done for you, Once you go through VAWA, you obtain VAWA benefits, a green card from VAWA. You can you assume those benefits too. So that's why it's 3 years. That's the logic why it's 3 years and not 5 years.
So you can apply like 6 months before the 3 years.
90 days, 3 months before the 3 years.
Okay.
90 days. Yeah.
All right. I mean, he's right then. I was thinking it's 5 years.
Oh, no, he's right. I think he did his research.
Okay.
Maybe I should talk about recent trends because we seem to have some time. Recent trends, what's going on lately, immigration-wise. Like I told you all earlier on this year after the inauguration, or maybe I don't know. It might have been in December when we're anticipating the new government and what they were going to bring. And I think even during the session about the new regime and all the immigration things they're doing, one thing I pointed out was have no fear because they're going to be stuck in courts. What they were planning to do, the way I saw it then was whatever they were planning to do was going to be so way out against the law that they will be sued and they will be stuck in the courts. Yes, I think it's proving to be that. So again, we must continue not to have any fears. They're really stuck in court. A lot of the things, for the reasons I told you back then, a lot of the things they want to do, Mr. Trump wanted to do it by executive orders. And you really there's only so much you can do by executive orders. Another thing is that the things they were trying to do just won't work. They are going against laws which already exist. And people will use those laws to meet them in court and challenge their decisions. And like I told you, if this thing is like a line, the people at the very front of the line, well, they're going to get stuck. They're going to get caught. But, they'll be the ones who suffer. But the people at the back of the line, they'll possibly not suffer because by the time the line gets to them, things would have changed. Time flies very fast, but that man is stuck in the courts. His thing for birthright citizenship, it's still in the courts. It's not going to work. That one is clear. I'm very sure about that. The second one, picking up people. Now it's a due process situation. Can you just pick up people? It's been framed as a due process thing. Can you pick up people? I'm sorry, my ears and my eyes are. Can you pick up people and just toss them out of the United States? Clearly not. You know about the Abrego case, the gentleman who was living here under withholding of removal. He applied for asylum. He couldn't get asylum, but he was given withholding of removal, meaning that he is allowed to live in the U.S. without being removed. Yes, he didn't get asylee status, but he's being allowed to stay, and he didn't have to be picked up and removed. That is some kind of a quasi-status. They mistakenly, they say, threw him out. And now he's outside the country. That thing, the Supreme Court 9-0 said you have to effectuate his return. Well, I wish they had been clear, as in saying, you must go bring him back. Effectuating his return is kind of dancing around, but hey, it's a win. They cannot just dispense of due process, because the particular thing for that man would have been this. If they wanted to really end his withholding of removal, they could have just put him through an examination and just look through. Is anything changed? Can we send him back now? Because it's based on that withholding of removal is based on a person's inability to stay in their country for fear of persecution. It doesn't quite rise up to asylum level, but the person's fear of persecution is recognized. So it's been done wrong. People are still applying for U.S. immigration benefits, and people are still they're going to have to be given benefits. So far, I haven't really noticed slowing down of adjudication, but I've been to a couple interviews, a couple as in 2, 3, 4, 5, who knows. I've noticed that the officers are now extraordinarily polite. Several times in Atlanta I've been, and last week I was in Dallas. Very polite. That was something we always didn't have, but I think they're being cautious, asking questions, and I don't know where it's going to land for my clients. A lot of the decisions were not given us at the time, so we are waiting for decisions. But definitely, if you have a person who is going to petition for you or you've qualified to naturalize, I would say go ahead and apply to naturalize. Don't be afraid. The only thing is, my own advice is get a copy of your old immigration file, look through it so that when you don't make any misstatements when you're doing your new naturalization, your new application, your naturalization application. Um, that's it for our naturalizations. And benefits. I really don't see anything else. It's slow, it's scary, but things are moving on. I'm seeing an uptick in VAWA petitions because, some marriages are bad. And some people are just sitting there just saying, okay, I'll just wait. Very soon I'll get my green card and I'll go. But I'm seeing that a lot of people are now making that decision of, well, I'm just going to ask for my VAWA benefits immediately. I've seen that uptick in people from Haiti, Venezuela, Cuba. What's the end of CHNB? Well, I'm seeing Nicaragua. I'm seeing an uptick in VAWA applications because people are no longer trying to just sit down quietly and manage a bad marriage. Because let's say they have TPS, they've applied for a petition, the spouse has petitioned for them, but they're now going about like, I'll just go straight for gold, ask for VAWA benefits and hope I can get it. So that's what I've noticed. So what I would say is this: if you have any benefit available to you, go ahead and apply for it immediately. Those Cubans, the Haitians, the Venezuelans, their cases also, the parole they had, the government attempted to revoke it. That one is also stuck because it's now stuck in court. So they can't remove those people until the courts tell them what should happen regarding their parole. And we don't know. So their parole programs will not be ended immediately as they have been scared about. Any questions again?
Hi, good afternoon.
Good day.
So I joined late. Okay, do I have access to the recording after the virtual meeting?
Do you what?
Do I have access to the recording after the meeting?
Namdi?
Yes, we do. Just make sure I put a link in the chat to make sure you join Circle. That's where we share all of the content. So if you want to see this and previous ones, make sure you join the community, and that's where all of our recordings go.
Okay, the community on your website.
Yeah, when I put a link in the chat here, you see a link to join Circle. Circle is
Okay.
our community home, so you can join there. That's where we live.
Okay. Thank you.
And another thing I forgot to mention regarding people who are still in medical school, or if you're trying to get your USMLE license, and make sure you're going to an accredited medical school. There's an organization called the World Directory of Medical Schools, WDMS. Go there and make sure that your medical school and your year of graduation from that medical school is accredited. Because you don't want to be told, oh, well, your school is not accredited and it won't work. So that's it.
All
Namdi, I
right.
think we're almost at the 3
So,
minutes to go, Mark.
3 minutes to go. Thank you so much, Attorney, and thank you all for being here. A couple more apologies because Attorney, the mixed up the scheduling for today. So they
Really?
next week. So I'm sure there are people here who came for the tech one, and also apologies for the mix-up. I know we still got value out of this, and we will drag attorney back to to do part two of this one with the right.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, it'll be like particular careers, and transitioning into your
Yes.
career path in the US.
And this is actually excellent too, since just it's providing routes and opportunities for folks. So I think it still worked out. I enjoyed the presentation. I think there's plenty of value. So thank you very much, as
My
always.
pleasure. My pleasure. Next time, I hope to talk about nurses and immigration.
I will get the things correct this time. So nurses, that should be a crowded session.
I hope so.
Please tell all your friends that are nurses. At some point, maybe next month, we'll be doing that. Please do me a favor before we end the call. I put a link in the chat to the summit. Whether you are local or not, go ahead and sign up for our summit in June. This is super important. It's our big annual event. It's our one biggest impact initiative that we drive. It's homecoming for all members of the African American Collective, and you get to learn about who we are, what we do. There's going to be panels, workshops. Attorney is going to be there live leading sessions and doing any extra thing that we're going to drag out to do. So it's going to be packed. We are working really hard to make this one super valuable. It's going to be here at Duluth High School. Is the venue, June 28th. That's the date. So please mark your calendars. But everyone on the call, go ahead and register, and then make it a point of duty to drag 2 additional people to register. All right, so take the link, copy the link, and get 2 more people to register and tell them, like, listen, you need to be part of this community. We are the ones who will grow this. We want to decentralize all of the information and make sure people have access to correct information. Like Mr. Tosin was arguing today with his friend. He was about to imagine if it was dependent on Tosin for correct information, he would have. So that is why we need forums like this where we can get, accurate information, bust any myths that we have around thriving here in the US. The team for this is Thriving Beyond Borders. So please go ahead and sign up right now. Like we said, the recordings for today's session will be inside of Circle. So also join Circle. The link is in the chat as well. Copy those links, save them, forward them to your friends. And then next week, we'll have another exciting session. 12 o'clock every week, we're back doing this. So next week, make sure you save the time, block this time. It's like church service. It's fixed.
I hear you.
Every day, right? It's a service before Sunday. So block out the 10 o'clock. You get done in 1 hour, and then you continue your week. But thank you all so much, and thank you, attorney. And we'll see you all next week, same time, same Zoom link. The Zoom link doesn't change as well. All right, God bless you. Have a productive rest of the day.
Thank
Hello.
you. Bye bye. Hey, yeah, hello.
Sorry, I don't need me to keep you. I'm on the website. Where this says circle, where is that?
Circle.so.
It's different. The website is not connecting Circle. If you just go in the chat, you'll see where it says join Circle. Join our community on Circle.
I came on the chat. I came on the chat late, so I don't see that. Okay, all right.
All right, everyone. Talk to you all soon.
All right.